What exactly is Project Vault?
It's a stockpile specifically for the private sector of what the administration would probably consider critical minerals. In critical minerals, obviously, we know about rare earths. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the main thrust here is the idea that we've had a strategic stockpile for defense purposes for ages. The difference here is in the event that the commercial industry, private companies have a shortage of materials, the administration wants to ensure that there would be a stockpile of those critical minerals in the event of some sort of national emergency.
I think it's interesting that this will be, first of all, the biggest EXIM loan that we've ever seen, right? 10 billion is more than twice as much as the second biggest, and that the private sector is going to contribute something like 2 billion as well. What are the incentives for private sector, putting in money?
Essentially, the idea being, listen, I think one of the things that is happening here is you have like more than a dozen OEMs that are on board, right? And those OEMs would signal to this vault who or what kind of materials would need to be purchased and put into the stockpile. So seemingly the idea is the benefit being that, well, there is probably some cost to carry, right? That's just how warehousing happens with hard assets. But also in the long run, if you were to buy these minerals at this point in this stage, maybe at the point at which there is an emergency where you see, a supply shortage, which is the obvious like emergency situation. Typically when there's a supply shortage, you see some sort of spike in prices. So the idea would be, well, if you need those during that national emergency, you would be buying those minerals at the lower price pre the moment of a short supply. But to be quite frank with you guys, I think those are still details that we and the market are looking for more information on to come from the administration.
I was going to say on that front, Joe, aren't a lot of these critical minerals are already quite expensive? $12 billion is the amount that you've pegged of seed money. How much would it actually cost to build a type of stockpile that would be useful by the United States?
I think you're asking the right question. I think the market is probably going to want a little more information as to maybe a clearer answer about that. The sense that I'm getting is that there's a feeling that $12 billion is enough at the moment to reach a sufficient stockpile in the minds of the government. Again, I don't know what the size of that stockpile is. I also don't know what minerals are necessarily getting more attention over others in that stockpile. I do think on some level that's maybe yet to be discussed between, as we mentioned, these OEMs and the government, but you guys are asking the right questions. This is a really interesting concept, really interesting idea. We have never seen something like this, a stockpile for commercial purposes for U.S. companies. But there are still a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered because these are things that matter. The bottom line does still matter to all these private companies.